Yo, what's going on? It is 1 p.m. here in Crystal Lake, Illinois. It means it's time for another live stream. You know what? I gotta check my audio. All right. I think we're good on audio. I think every time I rush down here, the audio is always messed up. I rush down here, but the audio is fine this time. I think. Anyway, that's what I think it is. But it's time for another live stream. Today is Wednesday, May 29th, 2024. Yeah. It's a special day. We're getting to the end of the school year. My kids have 0 activities after school that I have to take them to today. And I feel like I'm forgetting something. That's why I paused when I said Wednesday, May 29th. I'm like, I feel like there's something I'm forgetting today. Pretty sure there is. But I'm pretty sure I'm not forgetting anything. So, yeah, that makes for an easy afternoon for me. Today, we're also going to be unboxing something from the feed. I ordered a bunch of stuff after my big trip to London and Germany and Boston and then doing the 50K. I pretty much ate all my gels and all my hydration mix and stuff like that. So I had to restock a little bit. So that's what I got in here. But we'll get to that soon. First, let's say hi to everyone listening on the podcast on the audio only version. Speaking of like hydration and stuff like that, guys, today it wasn't even that hot. It was actually kind of chilly when I was running in a singlet. But I did not bring any water for my 10-mile run. And I definitely was dragging towards the end. And I wished I had brought some fluids. Even a gel would have been fine, maybe. But I really feel like I should have brought fluids today. So right now I'm feeling a little bit groggy, even though I had a bunch of Gatorade when I got home. And I think that not having any fluids on my run, especially not any sugars and electrolytes, is what did it. So make sure you're staying hydrated. And for everyone else watching this later but not live, welcome to the #1 running live stream where you can watch and learn about some products that are available that may or may not have the accurate amount of sugars and other macros on the inside as what they say on the packaging. I actually have no idea. I don't have an opinion on any of that stuff. I haven't been following it that closely. But maybe you guys have. You can tell me about it. Let's see who we got here in the chat. Mark Meyer says, my cat is obsessed with the bubble packing paper that's in the feed boxes. Is there bubble packing paper in here? I'm not sure. I always feel like there's just regular paper. Do you get bubble wrap? I don't think I've gotten bubble wrap. Patrick Odedina is the feed guy over here. Nice. Good job. I mean, where else are people getting their stuff from? I don't even know. I mean, full disclosure, I am a feed ambassador. They give me money store credit every quarter. But like, where else are people buying their stuff? Are you getting it at the running store? Like your local running retail? Because otherwise I don't know where to get stuff. I guess you could buy it directly from the brands. I don't know. Carlos Grego says, what gels and fuels can be trusted? Still so bummed about Spring Energy. Yeah, I mean, maybe one of you guys can succinctly explain what the thing was. Like someone did a test and the gels didn't have the amount of sugars that the packaging said the gels have. Has anyone else verified that? You know what I mean? I don't know. That's where I'm not sure about the controversy. Like, did that one person do the test right? I don't know. But Mark says, I get my stuff at a running store. Yep. REI has some also. Oh, okay. Raquel Escatel gets gels and nutrition at local running store. Calvin also says local running store. The feed and Amazon, I'd bet. Raquel also stocks up at expos. Oh, that's interesting. That's a good place, I feel like, to try a bunch of different ones. Not to use at the race, of course, but to like buy a couple of samples of stuff. By samples, I mean like buy a gel of this flavor or that flavor or whatever. And Vanessa Martinez says, REI and Amazon is where I usually get mine from. You buy yours on Amazon? I mean, I used to buy Science and Sport on Amazon. That was the only one. But for a while, that was the only place you could get Science and Sport in the United States, I feel like. Now you can get it at the feed. It's usually where I usually get it. And Daniel Burton says, I get my gels from the local grocery store? What gels do you get what grocery store has gels? Amazing. And Dikumana Lewis says, I get stuff from REI. Okay. Grant Reese has a shoe question. Is there any way to get a size 10.5 to 11 ASIC Super Blast without paying for a huge markup? I can't find them anywhere. Assume it's the Super Blast 2 about to come out. That makes it tough. I have no idea. I've been looking for some, not for myself. I've been looking just to see, because I think when I do, I don't know, a lot of shoes that I'm reviewing right now, people think they're Super Blast alternatives. So Super Blast has been coming up and I've been looking at it. I think they're just out. You know what I mean? I'm thinking it's not that like, well, I guess it is because the Super Blast 2 is coming out. I just think that they're done making them Super Blast 1. I don't know when Super Blast 2 is going to come out. I don't have it. So I have no idea. So that's why it feels like if I don't even, now I've told ASICs that I don't like getting shoes early. So they don't send them to me very early. But I don't even know anything about Super Blast 2. So that tells me it's not coming anytime soon, which is weird. So it's like, well, why aren't they selling more? Or like, why didn't they make more? I don't know. I'm not sure, but I don't know where you could get any. I feel like people really came around on the Super Blast. It took a long time. And I felt like I got a lot of heat for liking the Super Blast when it came out. But now every shoe is like being compared to the Super Blast, it feels like. Eric's like, yeah, what's going on, everybody? Yeah, this again. So Awesome Sauce is advertised as 180 calories, and it's actually 75 calories, 45 grams claims, and only like 16 to 18 in actuality. That's wild. That's way off. That's way off. Oh. That doesn't even make sense. How can it be that off? I mean, that's like class action level right there. Right? Because I mean, that's not even like, I don't understand. Has it, my thing is still like, has anyone else verified this? Okay. Frank says it's been verified by at least 3 different people. And Jason Coop sent it to a pro food analysis. That's so funny. That's so funny. I've had Awesome Sauce before. It's pretty tasty, but I don't like Spring Energy gels. I feel like I've mentioned this to other people. I like the food that I eat to feel very basic and straightforward. Not that I don't love a good process. I had an Impossible Whopper yesterday for second dinner, for goodness sakes. But generally, I like my food to be straightforward and basic, and I like my gels and nutrition to feel like they're from the future. So like, Spring Energy gels, they're great, they're good, but it tastes too much like food for me to like it as a gel. And CV76 says you have to check the expiration date. So the expiration date changes it? I mean, it's not, is it? I mean, that, I guess it is kind of like food. I don't know. Is that really what it is? And Calvin says, the testing lined up with what other people found, and it's not just dehydrating it, but with bomb calorimetry. So it's not hearsay. Oh, okay. So Spring Energy's got a big problem then. And Carlos says, Scoop sent the stuff into a lab and verified Spring had about 75 to 80 calories and 18 grams of carb and way less than advertised. Oh my goodness. It's comically bad. It's comically bad. Like, oh my goodness. Carlos Green says, I'm just switching over to packs of ketchup. Remember, what was that? Was that like was that a Heinz thing really that people were, or what was the thing where people were actually using ketchup instead of gels? I don't know. Manny Mac says, Walmart has goo and honey stinger gels and Noon, but that's about it. They do, not my Walmart. I mean, I'll look. But the best I've ever found at Walmart in terms of like specialty stuff, and maybe I have to do I have to go over to where they keep like the protein shakes, like in the pharmacy area? But like the only thing I've seen is like sometimes they have Gatorade Endurance instead of just regular Gatorade powder. That's about it. That's what I've seen. Eric says, I'm still going to eat my awesome sauce, but it's good to know that I just have to add 1 or 2 more per whatever effort. It's fine. Yeah. I mean, 18 grams of carbs is a decent amount of carbs. And 75 calories is a decent amount of calories, I suppose. You know what? Someone was telling me, Matt Fox was telling me of Sweat Elite fame. By the way, does anyone know what the Sweat Elite, did you guys hear Sweat Elite got acquired? I don't even know what that means when it comes to a YouTube channel. Does that mean it's still going to be Sweat Elite, but Matt Fox isn't involved anymore? I don't even know. I was going to ask him, but he said he's going to make an announcement. He's going to explain more later. But he was telling me that in the United States, we only really look at carbs in the gels. And in Europe, he says they don't even really look at the carbs in the gels. They only want to know how many calories are in it. I thought, is that true? We have some people in Europe listening in the live stream, or if you're watching later but not live, let me know if that's true or not. Eric says, yeah, no wonder people were losing their stuff over this. Your Boy Scout jerk is having a field day off this news. I feel like, I don't know who your Boy Scout jerk is, but I feel like he must be. Is he in college? Because I feel like since college classes have, like the course year for college has ended, I feel like the number of posts from your Boy Scout jerk has gone up by quite a lot. It's been fun. And Calvin says, it brings a question how those numbers are reported. The label is regulated by the FDA, but I found no resource on who tests the numbers or if it's self-reported. Yeah, I don't know. And Cosmo Michael says, Spring Energy just removed awesome sauce from their U.S. website. Hey, it's Carlos C. has a weird running shoe question, which I don't think is that weird. Do you think it's weird to run the Tracksmith 5000 and the Alpha Fly 1s? I don't think it's weird at all. In fact, if I recall correctly, I don't think it was, it definitely wasn't this year. Maybe it was last year or the year before. I think it might have been a few years ago now. Maybe 2020, maybe 2021. Remember when all the Nike athletes were having a hard time meeting their contractual obligations for running a certain number of races a year because there weren't races in the year? And then people were just like hopping in whatever 10K that they could find. I distinctly remember Kira D'Amato racing a 10K in Alpha Fly 1s. Am I wrong on that? Even though technically it's against WADA rules, it's not against, I don't think it's against USA. I don't think it wouldn't have counted. It wouldn't have counted for world record purposes. Not that she was trying to break the world record. I don't know if it would have counted for USA records. Not that I think she was trying to break the US record. But it's not weird. It's not that weird. And Elisa says, Coop's been flaming the roaches. Oof. I don't know what that's about either. I don't listen to Jason Coop. I think he's very intense. Other people like him. I don't really have much of an opinion on him. I've tried listening to it. He focuses on trails, and so I'm not as interested. It's not about him. But I don't listen to any trail podcasts. But Matt Chittum was posting stuff about this beef that's developing, and I'm not sure what that's all about either. Maybe you guys can explain that to me too. Yeah, Martha said, did anyone else test the Spring Energy gels? Not to mention the other brands. Yeah, so I think someone did, reputable people did. About the other gel brands, I'm not sure. I don't know. Daniel Burton does say that some runners use baby food. I mean, I guess it's just that the spring energy is smaller though. Some people have mentioned using applesauce, which I have run with applesauce before, because my kids get the I think it's called Go-Go applesauce. It's really nice, and the squeeze pouches are great because otherwise I don't know how you feed a kid applesauce without the applesauce getting everywhere. But I send one with my kid every day for school, and I run with those, and they're tasty. But there's a lot of liquid to it, and so I feel like the spring energies, in addition to being like applesauce, which is a good thing if you want something that's more natural or feels more like regular food, but it's not as voluminous. So. Kevin says that as far as getting gels other places, you can go to sporting goods stores. Target, and Target has Honey Stinger and Noon also. Target has gels now too. Running is really mainstream then. Yevon says Science and Sport got rid of my favorite flavors, raspberry and salted strawberry. Those sound gross to me. I only like a handful of flavors, so I'm not going to complain about the existence of other flavors. But yeah. And Adam says when he looks at gels, it's all about calories for me. You don't look at the carb numbers, Adam? Maybe it's because you're European. And Capricornian says, I don't think that's true about like Europeans only looking at calories and Americans only looking at carbs. But Capricornian says, I do try to find the most balanced one in terms of calories per carb. Interesting. I always just, I just look at, I'm like, is it around 20 grams of carbs? At this point, I don't want much more than that. And we'll talk, I guess maybe this is a good time to open. Let's get to the box. Since we're talking about the gels, let's get to the box and I'll explain some of my purchases. If I bought what I think I bought, I'll have to see. Sometimes, a lot of times I forget. The stuff doesn't always get here super fast. That'll probably be the only thing I don't like about the feed. It takes long enough for me to forget what I ordered. It looks like I only got two things. One is I got another box of this Science and Sport. These are the ones that I had in London. Someone was asking about that in the chat. This is the 75 milligrams of caffeine one, and it is the citrus flavor. Kind of just tastes like orange or maybe like a tangerine kind of flavor. Yeah. Do we got to open? I don't want to open this because I don't need to open the box because I got a bunch of them. I still have a couple left, but might as well open them. So let's look at the packaging. Actually, this is different than the one I had. I think I actually had orange in London. But the citrus one, let's see what the calories say, 90 calories and 22 grams of carbs. And then salt, not a lot of salt in this one. It's 10 milligrams, so almost nothing. It is free. It says it's free from 8 major allergens, which I think is cool. And yeah. So the reason I want to show this to you guys is, so I got this one, and then the other thing I got a bag of lemon and lime flavor without caffeine. And so the reason why I got this is because for London, I brought 7 total gels and I ate all 7. I ate 1 right before the race started, and then I had 6 for the race. And by the end of the race, I had consumed 7 times 75 milligrams of caffeine because I only had caffeinated ones with me. And that didn't make me feel great. It didn't make me feel bad as that sounds, but it didn't make me feel great either. So I think that what I need to do is I need to mix it up and split it up a little bit. A little bit of caffeine at like every other one, you know? So, yeah. So that's what I got. Brandon Palmer says, lemon lime was one of the better flavors. I feel like that's the first Science and Sport flavor I ever had, and I like it. Because I feel like it tastes like flat Sprite, you know. So that's what I get. And Eliza says this is a lot of gels. It is a lot of gels, but hopefully they'll last me a long time. I think I bought 60, a 30-pack box and then a 30-pack bag, you know. Nyamila Dure says so many gels. How often are you using them? I usually bring one. I go through about at least 1 a day, sometimes 2 to 3, depending on the run. Like today, for example, I mentioned I didn't bring anything, water or gels, with me on a 10-mile run, and I really was regretting that while I was on the run, even though it wasn't that hot. So normally I would bring a gel with me. I just kind of rushed out the door and thought I might need it because it's not that hot, and I wasn't going to be running that hard. But yeah. So 1 a day. Other times, like the other day, I did a workout and I did bring 1 gel with me for a long run workout, for a 13-mile run, but I also brought 2 bottles with me and I stashed them along the route, you know? So, yeah, so like I just have been really preferring, here's the thing. I feel like, I don't know if it's a pendulum swing or what, but as much as I love gels and the convenience of carrying gels, I feel like I'm going back to like, I just want liquid. The main reason being that there isn't enough salt in a lot of gels. Now, Huma Chia Plus does have a lot of salt in it, enough salt in it. And that could be the one exception. And maybe I need to investigate or reconsider going back to using more Huma Chia Plus. Because that could be an answer too. But when I was running Tiger Claw, now granted the paces are different, the goals were different, the energy levels are different that I'm using, but I got most of my carbs and calories by liquid. And I had like Martin drink, I had a lot of mostly Tailwind and a little bit of Scratch. All those drinks have sugar and salt in them, you know? So I felt like, I'm like, I kind of really like this. Plus I just like drinking a lot of fluid, you know? I don't know. Sean Devon says, do people typically take a gel or more on a typical weekday non-long run? I never do. Maybe I'm missing out. I do if I'm, I usually do most days. I'll bring 1. I don't always eat it, but I usually bring 1, at least 1. That being said, my runs lately have been on the shorter side because I'm still, I guess, recovering from Tiger Claw. But today was my first midweek non-long run, just easy run 10 miles. That was my first one in a while. Sorry, I thought I heard something. And till now they've been like 6 to 7 or maybe 8. And for that, I didn't really eat it. I started feeling like I probably could use some at some of those, but I was fine without them. Prefer a 9 or 10. I'd definitely like to have one. Daniel Burton says, I use a gel during my track workouts halfway through. The thing is on a track, you know, for me, my track workouts, there's usually a lot of walking or standing around in them on the recoveries. And that's when I usually would prefer to get to a bottle. But I do also bring gels too. Richard Wilson says, I'll say it again. Homemade is cheap and great. People keep telling me, like, there's that little squeeze bottle from the feed that I love. It's like 4.5 ounces. People like to make their own and put that. They say that's what that's for. I like to just put a little bit of extra concentrated Gatorade in mine, but that's also an option for sure. Patrick says, in every haul, I buy a few Goo salted watermelon, and they have 120 milligrams of sodium. That's a nice amount. I like that. And Frank said, and this is the problem, and I completely agree. It's hard to plan your marathon around consuming calories via fluid, though. Yeah, so like I know like Megan Murray and Ben Johnson all bring bottles, handhelds with them for their races. I think Megan Featherston does it too. And I want to try that, but when I run with a handheld, since I already run with a camera, and that's just me and my weird way of doing it, it always just feels like I'm holding too many things, and so that's why I don't want to do the handheld. I think that I could probably run a very fast marathon. Like Ben Johnson has one. I don't know if he made it or if he rigged it or sewed it himself or what. He's pretty handy with the sewing machine, but he has like a waist pack, the kind that like some mountain bikers have, with a small bladder inside, like it's a liter, and he runs with that, and he's run with that before and has a tube. That I feel like would be the best option for me. I don't like vests with front bottles. I want to put it in the back, but most races don't let you run. Technically, it's against the rules to run with a vest. So yeah, that's a problem with like preferring liquids, but like running Tiger Claw, I was just loving like the idea of like, I still have a lot of fluid left, but I'm coming to the aid station soon. Time to chug some Tailwind. It was great. I really actually liked it. Capricornian one says, it's getting really hot right now in Portugal. I have a 10K on Sunday and was going to try to dip below 48. Would you use a gel in the middle of the run, or is this overkill? It might be overkill at 48 minutes. At 48 minutes, maybe. If it makes you feel better, though, do it. If it's going to be really hot, though, you may prefer to take any calories in by fluid on the course, or maybe you take a gel and then at the water station you just dump water on yourself. But for 48 minutes, I could see it. I think it'd be fine. Oh, and the other thing that I want to say, because you guys are talking about like how many carbs is in some gels. I have been trying the beta fuel from Science and Sport, thinking that would be even better, because then it's like in the same size packet, it's 40 grams of carbs. But I realized that like that much sugar hitting my system at once didn't feel great. Plus, I don't love the flavor of the orange. It's called orange, but it's like orange creamsicle. There's like a vanilla flavor to it, and it's more viscous. So I just don't love that as much. I think 20 grams is a good number for me. And if I need more than 20, I'll just take more gels. It's kind of where I'm resigned to right now. 20 feels like the right number for me. Calvin says, I brought a handheld for my race and had it the whole time. It frees up pocket space also for more gels. Well, there you go. Calvin says, my favorite chews have been from Science and Sport. Not overly chewy like a gumdrop, and more of a gummy worm texture. I didn't know that Science and Sport made gummies. Interesting. And General Triangle says, how did you settle on Science and Sport gels? How many gels did you try before these, or did you find these and like them and just stick to them? I feel like I tried them all. For a while, I was just, because it would be fun video content to make, to just try them all. So I've tried a variety of different goos. I like Goo Roctane. There's like a chocolate coconut one that tastes like an Almond Joy, which I really liked. Um, those were good, but like, they're so pasty. I feel like you got to take them with liquid, and I didn't like that. Um, I've tried a bunch of Martins. I used to race with a lot of Martins, kind of save them for the special days because they're so expensive. I've tried a bunch of Humichios. I've tried a bunch of the Spring Energies. It's just so expensive. Um, and again, it feels like real food and not like synthesized in a lab, which is kind of like the vibe I'm going for. I've tried like Hammer, Honey Stinger. Honey Stinger ones were gross in my opinion. Hammer, I didn't really like any of the ones from Hammer. I've tried UCAN. I like UCAN a lot too. It has sometimes I swear it has a corny taste. But like I used to do a lot of Unived, and what I've realized is that like I like the ones that are a little bit bigger and not as pasty. This one's kind of like drinking a syrup almost. I've also had like the maple. I forget what the Untapped. I've had that one brand as well. But I find that I generally like the ones that have a little bit more volume to them, a little bit less pasty and more like liquid. And then I just figured I loved training with these because when I started using them, they were $1 a packet. Now they're closer to $2 a packet. But they were like the price per unit was really good. And so it was like, has enough sugar for workouts. Volume's good. Plus, because of this volume, then it's like I'm kind of drinking fluids too. So that's kind of how I ended up at Science and Sport, and just it sits well with me when I take a lot of them. So, yeah. Brandon Palmer says, all this talk though, it makes me wonder if I'm not underhydrating or under-consuming energy from my runs. Typically running a 147 half, and I only take 2 gels. Yeah, I mean, I might try taking more and see if it helps. You know what I mean? Because like I like to say, it's not a dehydration contest. It's not about how you don't get more points for taking less gels. Because remember, there's no points at all. But also like you don't get more points for taking more gels either. So you got to find the right amount of gels. But I feel like we're all kind of for some reason conditioned or we're ingrained in our minds that we should try to do as little as possible. So I would try more, see if it helps you. It might help you and you didn't even realize. Raquel Escatel says, I go through 2 packets of Tailwind in a marathon. Haven't figured out a good way to pour powder while moving. If you see a streak of white dust blowing in the crosswind, sorry. I mean, I think the only thing that you could do is have like a pre-made bottle. Or a pre-poured bottle and then add water in it somehow later. If that's an option. I just saw that Tina Muir was working with some race in San Diego where it was reusable cups. And so people like the aid station, they were filling your water cup for you. I feel like that would be a good race for you to do. To do that. Like, so what I did, for Tiger Claw, no, I thought about doing it, but I ended up not. So I thought I had 2 front bottles at Tiger Claw, and I thought about packing 2 more. And like, so when I started the race, having 2 empty flasks in the back, but pre-poured with powder. So that way, when I got to the aid station, I could just unscrew the tops and pour water in them and go. I ended up thinking, I'm not in that much of a rush, so I'm not going to bother doing that. But like soft flask compressed down. So I feel like that would be one way of doing it. Nataku says, hey, what do you do in limbo periods between races? My next race is Houston. So what should I do? I've been doing easy math runs. Well, I mean, like Houston is a long time away. So typically for me in between races, it's just easy running, whatever I feel like, no goals. But with this much time between now and Houston, I'm assuming you mean the one in January. You've got what, like 7 or 8 months. that'd be a really good time to work on some other speeds if you want. So maybe this is a good time to do a speed block, or to introduce some good habits that you've been meaning to do. Like if you've not been going to the gym, maybe it's a good time to start introducing the gym on weights into your routine. Or if you want to do cross training and introduce that into your routine, now's a really good time. So like, I feel like, so you have a lot of time, but it'll go by really, really fast if you try to introduce something new, whether that's a new kind of speed, new kind of distance, new kind of mileage. It could be a bunch of different things. So this is where like having like someone that actually knows how to coach would be better, because I don't really know exactly how to do it. For me, if my next race were Houston, I would probably put another race on the calendar. That's what I would do. Oh, Adam Fierce says at Boulder, they give you an Ageless Wonder shirt if you beat your age, and a sub 40 club if you go under 40. Oh, really? I got one of those. I want one of those shirts. That's pretty cool. Ooh, Will Willing says, I'm flying to San Diego tomorrow for my 4th half marathon, and I'm going to be using a soft flask in my running belt. Has anyone... how did the soft flask go back into the running belt, though? I mean, because I feel like once it's out, does it go back in easy? Because I have a flip belt, and it has a hard-sided bottle that is specially designed for the flip belt. I think I might have actually lost that bottle. Now that I think about it, I haven't seen it in a long time. And I've used that, and I like that because it holds 10 ounces of fluid, which is enough for most of my runs. Because then I could put 10 ounces of fluid there, a couple of gels in my pockets, and then I'm good to go. But if I have many, many soft flasks, and I'm sure some of them would fit in the flip belt, but how hard are they going to be to get in and out? Especially once they're like half drank, I don't know. Frank said, I had a handheld for Boston 23. I only ended up drinking like half of it. 23, that was the year with rain, though. It was cold, wasn't it? It was so cold that day. Super Ninja says, I've had all the goos and Cliff gels. I hate them all. Martha says, oh, I wouldn't trust a soft flask in a flip belt. Yeah, I'm not sure I would know about that. And Richard Wilson says, like, I know you hate the naked branding, but the much higher pockets make the soft flasks easy. All right. Well, maybe it's time to revisit that. I'm gonna buy a naked belt. Because you know what Walmsley does? He just flips it inside out, and then it doesn't say naked all over it. So, Nate says, the naked running band, it easily fits 500 milliliter soft flasks and lots of gels. Well, maybe that's the way to go. Sega Dreamcast says, I'm still debating what to do at Grandma's for hydration. Have been doing my long runs with Nathan's speed draw filled with Element. Don't you need more sugar than that, though? Because Element doesn't have sugar in it, right? So what are you going to do? Is that the dilemma? What's the dilemma? Sean Devlin says, Kofuzi's nightmare. Running around the track during the school day wearing a naked belt. Yeah, I wouldn't. Why would I even need to do that? Doesn't even make sense, Sean. But I see your point. Yeah, I just think it's weird branding. I don't like it. It feels very like early 2000s avant-garde in your face marketing kind of thing. Oh, Sega Dreamcast says the dilemma is I don't know if I want to have a handheld with me or not. That's the dilemma. Um, I mean, if you're used to running and doing your long runs with the handheld, I'd say go with the handheld. Do it. The only reason I don't do a handheld or I haven't tried running with a handheld in a race is because I'm an incorrigible YouTuber and I always run with a video camera. But like, Megan Murray does it, Ben Johnson does it, Megan Featherstone does it, Mario Frioli does it as well. So you'd be in good company of people that start their marathon races with the handheld. Will Willing says, I've been practicing with the belt and flask, and I have to take it out to drink it and put it back in after the drink, but I like it better than carrying a handheld. Okay. Yeah, Kevin says Floberg. Floberg does it too? Okay. Yeah, see? A lot of people do the sipping on juice as you go. It's convenient. It's nice. Plus, there's got to be some sort of benefit to be able to constantly sip and like kind of like IV drip sugars into your system rather than like gulping in a hyperventilatory kind of way 4 to 6 ounces of fluid every other aid station, So I think it's time to revisit. Is it time to revisit? Do I have to do another rundown of waist belts? I just looked at one from Ultimate Direction that has a magnetic clasp, but it's tight. It's too small for me, so it's very uncomfortable. It barely fits my phone. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'll go back and look through some more waist belts. Yeah, and Calvin says with the handheld, you can add extra carbs without risking upsetting the stomach versus slamming 20 to 40 grams of carbs at once. Yeah, I like, part of me likes the sugar rush that you get when you eat a gel. Part of me counts on it. Part of me looks forward to it, And Cousin Pineapple Michael says, my handheld was great when I did Houston Marathon this year, and I was also able to refill it at aid stations late in the race too. See, that's not bad. I like that idea. That's who wants to know if there's a cheaper heart rate monitor you'd recommend. I use a Garmin watch, so stick to Garmin. I'm partial to the polar ones. I've always liked those. I think the OH1, I don't know how much the OH1 costs. Cheaper. The Wahoo Ticker one is pretty cheap. What's the other one that's yeah, I think that's the one I'm thinking of. It's big. And it's a chest strap, but that one worked really well too. I don't know if Wahoo makes an armband. I think that they do. Yeah. Martha says, first time I carried a handheld was my 18-minute PR. Weather, training shoes, nutrition helped, but I saved so much time with the handheld bottle. Oh, interesting. Oh, Raquel Escatel says, you should recap the Dakota Lindworm element and tailwind recipe. Oh, that's right. So I think she had 7 bottles or 6 bottles. And she put tailwind in all her bottles and then split 1 packet of element across, I think 2 packets of element across the bottles. I don't remember if it was 1 or 2. At first, when she was explaining to me, I thought she put an element in each bottle, and I'm like, you had 6 elements? But no, I think it was 1 element across. I think it was 1 element across the 6, which I feel like is a good number of salt because the element has 1,000 milligrams. So if you have that across 6 bottles, that's whatever 1,000 divided by 6 is, Vanessa says, maybe you need to start running with a pacer who can hold all your stuff. Like a kid at Disney giving mom all his snacks. I feel like people would get really mad if I started doing that. Grant Reese says, is it worth the time in a sub 3 temp to stop and fill my flask with aid station water mix? I feel like what Megan Murray does is she throws away her handheld once it's empty and then drinks what's on the course. She's like, it basically cost me $20 to run a race plus whatever gels and other stuff I'm doing, but like, that's kind of her cost of it. That's how she does it. I don't know how other people have done it. I have helped people by putting handhelds on the course for them before, so that they can go pick it up. But I don't know. I've never seen anyone like refill it. I mean, I saw the footage that Tina Muir had from that race in San Diego, where like people were like jogging along with the runners and pouring and refilling their handhelds and their cups. That was kind of funny. And Frank says that the Marine Corps Marathon had at least one aid station that was just refills, which suggests they expected a lot of people were carrying some container. I feel like at the Marine Corps Marathon, they must let people run with like those weighted vests and stuff, right? Like if you're into rucking or any of the like, what was it? It was just this weekend. What's the name of that thing? The Murph? The Murph? Like if you're doing that, I feel like they would very naturally be drawn to the Marine Corps Marathon. And I feel like those people probably have bladders for their camelbacks, Calvin says, I put my contact info in my bottle in case I wanted to toss it, and I ended up holding it the whole way. Yeah. And Carrie Smith says, just keep it. It's like 3 ounces of weight. I know, but it feels annoying. Because imagine if you're like holding an empty bottle and then you're also doing the pinch and sip, with the cups along the way. After a while, it might be frustrating if you were trying to run fast. So I feel like that's why she does it. I feel like, yeah, it's just like I could go either way. I could easily see just holding it the whole time. That's why I do like that one that Hydra Pack sent me. I know some people have a hard time with the weird hardness system that it has for your hand, but like I've run with that one, and because it's basically a strap on a soft flask, I feel like if you was really annoying but you wanted to keep it, you could put it in like a half tight side pocket. I feel like it could work in there. Grant Reese says the Hydro Pack flip top seems smart. Oh, the flip top too, because then you just flip it open and then you could pour right into it. That is nice. And Frank says backpacks are okay at Marine Corps Marathon. I don't remember seeing people with actual rucks like at the Baton Death March, though. Interesting. Super Engine says, honestly, the release of tossing a bottle mid-marathon is incredible. That's funny. I bet you it is. I know it is. I mean, even when I stash bottles along routes when I'm running, I'll pick it up, and I'll just jog with it for a while as I'm sipping, and then I'll just toss it to the side of the road. Mentally remembering where it is so I can drive by later and go get it. But yeah, it is it's nice. It's nice to pitch it, And Joseph Daniel says, do you know if the Carl's heart rate monitor works well with the Garmin watch? It does. I did that today. Calvin Huang says, New York City Marathon said no hydration packs, but I think people had them, right? Is it one of those rules that they don't really enforce? I will say I'm not going to answer the second question. Is it a rule that they don't really enforce? I don't know. But I will agree with you that I have seen people run with hydration packs at New York and Chicago where there are rules that prohibit it. That being said, I wouldn't recommend for anyone to have that as your hydration strategy. Calvin says, you know what else? Lots of races also say no headphones, and there's no way they enforce that. Do races say no headphones? I don't feel like races say that anymore. I feel like they used to, but then after a while they're like, this, no, people are going to bring it no matter what we say. Matt Anderson says, have you ever had any problems with the Coros arm heart rate monitor, Co? No, I've been using it for about a month now, I'd say. And it feels fine to me. I'm not super picky with my heart rate monitors though. Like I'm not like peeping like, ooh, I'm not like pinching in and zooming to see like how accurate was it. If it gives me a generally sensible heart rate reading with no like weird, I'm like, I don't even know where those spikes are coming from, you know, like that kind of thing, then I'm pretty happy. And Grant Reese says, downhill marathons, any tips? I would say, I mean, not really. Have fun. That's the main one. But I would also say like there is a such thing as too much downhill, where like it might be too steep of a grade to be enjoyable. But I feel like a race that advertises itself as a downhill race probably doesn't have that problem. Like LA, for example, LA does not advertise itself as a downhill race, nor should it. But some of those hills, you know, are really fun, but like they're too steep to be fully utilized. And that's always so frustrating because then you're spending energy on braking, and I hate that. All right. Eric Paramount says, those Revel Marathon events look ridiculous. Can't believe you can BQ with those damn things. I don't know. I've never run a Revel Marathon, but I do love a good downhill race. I think they're super fun. And ultimately, I just don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other on whether people should be able to use them or not. It doesn't matter that much to me. But I could see why people would be upset. But ultimately, it doesn't bother me. All right. I think it's a good place to leave it for today, guys. Guys, I'm not sure if I'm going to make that Cumulus 26 video. I was looking at the footage for it. I haven't run in that shoe in like 3 months maybe. And all of the footage is snowy. So it seems really weird to be editing it right now. I feel like I have to go run in it again, and I don't really feel like running in it again. So the next video might not be till next week with the Cloud Monster Hyper. I'm still working on maybe making a runner's weekend from that short trip I had in New York, but it depends. I thought I was going to be able to get footage of my talk from the group that I spoke in front of, but I haven't heard back yet. I forgot to ask for it for a long time, and then I'm waiting to hear back to see if they'll let me have at least some of the footage so I can kind of like do a voiceover of it, but we'll see. So I don't know when the next video is going to come out. I'm not in a rush for it. I don't feel like I need to put out a video just to put out a video. So we'll have another video soon at some point. But what I do know is we will have another live stream tomorrow, same time as today, 1 p.m. Central Time. Hopefully I see you then. In the meantime, be safe out there, everybody. Thanks.